Hello guys, welcome back to Assetto Corsa, and today we're going to be racing the Ferrari 248 at Silverstone.
Yep, just like the other Formula 1 cars that we tend to test, we're taking this at Silverstone, and I think it's just to make it fair that we test all the Formula 1 cars at one track, so we can really make a comparison between them. And we are testing the Ferrari 248, which is actually the 2006 Formula 1 car. Now I know it doesn't say F 2006, it's because they decided for some strange reason, as a one-off, to go back to their conventions that they had back in the 60s, 70s, which is why we got the Ferrari. Remember the 312T?
Yeah.
It was a 3-litre 12-cylinder turbo, so 312T. So this is a 2.4-litre 8-cylinder.
8, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a V8.
Yeah.
It's not a 2-litre 48-cylinder.
Yeah. But one thing straight away that hits you is the V8 sound in comparison to what we hear now on TV when you're watching the F1 races. I know we go on it every single time we race F1 car, we mention the noise because it's the noise that makes F1.
It is. I mean, okay, yeah, it's the V10s for me, but still, this was the year straight after the V10s.
Yeah. It's not bad.
Still great.
Yeah.
The V8s was still a great noise. Slightly different to the V10, like we said. The V8s roared more, while the V10 sort of screamed.
Yeah.
But it's very similar.
Yeah.
And you know, the important part was it used to rev crazy high.
Yeah.
And with that crazy high revving, you know, I think almost 20,000 RPM in total, if not more. It was with that crazy high revving that you actually.
Sorry, wasn't it limited to 20,000?
Yeah. These used to be limited. I've seen an unlimited V8 engine, and I think the highest it revved was 22 or 23,000 RPM. With
how does it still stay on the ground?
Oh, they didn't move the car; they just fired it
Wow.
up. It was Red Bull. In fact, I think Red Bull did it. Lotus did it. It was on the last day of the V8 engines a couple of years ago, and they decided, let's just fire them up, leave all the bodywork off, and let's just see what happens to the engine. And they had all the pit crews and all that standing there. They fired it up, and everyone's wearing earmuffs and all that, except Mark Webber. Mark Webber did not wear earmuffs. I don't know why. And they fired this thing up, and they started revving it up. You know, 14, 15, 16, and it's fine. Got it to at that time they were limited to I think 17, and then they got it over 17, got it to 18, 19, and he started hearing sort of what you hear now, or in this video, and then they went over the 20 mark, and it started sounding very different.
Screamy.
Yeah. It started sounding very different. 21, 22. By the time it got to 22, the exhaust manifolds were glowing red hot.
I think 23 was probably melted.
It looked like it was very close to melting. It really did look like it was very close to melting. And
is that on YouTube by any chance?
Yes, that is on YouTube.
Might be watching that today.
I'll link that in the description box. Actually, I will link that video because it was fantastically good. And you had flames pouring out the back of the exhaust, so it was very crazy. But
yeah, I'll make sure I watch that, guys, because I'll be watching it as well.
I'll put that in the description box below.
Right, so shall we go on to the specs of the car?
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, 785 brake at 18,000 revs.
Yeah, and that was at the end of the season. At the start of the season, this car actually had 730 bhp.
So does it, when they wear it in, it sort of gives you a bit more optimizes, isn't it?
You had to wear it in a bit, and also they developed the engine a bit more. So this version is basically an end of season version.
Right, okay. So it's basically in its prime, isn't it?
Yeah, absolute prime. At this point, it was the fastest car on the grid.
Right, okay. The weight is at 660.
Yeah, 660.
Still very light.
Light car.
Yeah.
Very light car, and that does include the driver.
Yeah.
That does include the driver. Yep. And we had the torque. Now, remember we were talking about how the new cars are very torquey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this car obviously it's not that torquey at all. 250 newton meters of torque, and that was around 16,000 RPM, which means it wasn't. It's not a very torquey car, but it was still in quite a high range. So this car is, as you'd expect, is going to be really high range revving car.
Yep. And top speed. Well,
obviously it's a Formula 1 car. It changes.
Yeah. But like you said, it changes, but we can go above 200 miles an hour easy.
Easy. 210, maybe 220 miles an hour. You'd get that down the main straight at Monza. So something like that. And the engine, as we did mention, it's a 2.4 litre V8. It's got 32 valves. Wow. So it's 4 valves per cylinder. which is quite crazy, and it's longitudinally mounted, obviously, to make sure it fits in a slim car, and it's made out of cast aluminium, so it is a very light engine. In fact, I think the engine is a 90. I think the entire engine was 90 kilos. There's engine and gearbox put together. Very light.
Well, that means what? What's that? 550 for. Well, 500, no,
about
570 for the rest of everything else.
Well, take away 70 for the driver, or 60, 70 for the driver, so you got 500 kilos as the rest of the car.
But still, if you look at it logically, that's quite heavy though, without the engine and the driver.
Yeah, that is actually quite heavy. If you think about it, that is quite a bit of weight. But then again, if you took an engine out of one of our cars,
yeah,
it's going to take what, 150 kilos off it. So you're still looking at a car that weighs a ton.
Yeah.
And it's not as not that strong. When I was in university, we used to build Formula style cars and stuff. Ours was weighing about 300 kilos, and that was heavy for that style of car. But I tell you something, to shave weight off that, you had to go into the kind of stuff that they've gone into, which is you had the chassis itself was carbon. It was carbon fiber honeycomb.
Okay.
So it was a carbon fiber and honeycomb composite.
So it's reinforced, isn't it?
So yeah, it's reinforced, and obviously it makes it very, very light because you're using that honeycomb lattice. It's not just solid stuff. And obviously the brakes as well, carbon fiber disc brakes. So everything that you'd get, as much as you could shave off on it, while making it as strong as you could. And it was 7 forward gears. Paddle shift.
Obviously.
It was actually a semi-automatic. In this, it's all manual all the time. I suppose if you put it in semi-auto mode at the start when you're setting up the sim, you'd actually manage to get it in semi-automatic. I didn't try that. I didn't actually try that, but I might actually give that a go. And the drivers, and this is where it gets very special for me.
Yeah, because it's got Philip Massa in it. No.
To be honest, Felipe Massa's he's a nice driver. He's a nice driver.
I've just seen the one afterwards. I'm just messing around.
This is, and I am driving Michael Schumacher's car, his last Ferrari, and for me that made it very special because I grew up watching Michael Schumacher race in his Scarlet machines and win everything he could win, and it was for me when I got in this car and I thought, you know what, it's a simulator, but this is the first time I'm driving a Michael Schumacher car. This has got to be something special, it's got to be something incredible. And also then the designers, and this is for more on the engineering side, Aldo Costa and Rory Byrne, fantastic Ferrari designers. In fact, I think they've got Rory back for this season's car. Okay. And we're seeing how well this season, 2015 season's car is actually doing.
It's actually taken off in the last few races, isn't it?
It has. It actually won in Singapore.
Yeah.
I think exceptional circumstances. That was fast.
Yeah. Even though it was Vettel, it was quite fast.
It was. Vettel's a fast driver. I don't like him as much, but he's a very fast driver.
As a person-wise.
Yeah, personally, driver, he's incredibly good. Yeah. He is talented. There's no way you can argue that. Now, what other information is there really about this car? I suppose
one fact: first car since F2000 not to have the #1 badge on it.
Yeah, that's true because Fernando Alonso took that number off Michael Schumacher in 2005, and this is my one spin. This is what happens when you stop paying attention. Started looking over at the time and thought, okay, oh wait, corner, no, okay, I'm gone.
Wrong time to take your eyes off it.
Wrong time. I should have done that back down one of the long straights, but sometimes you have to look at the time to see how far in you are. How far, we're not that far in. And I guess the other bits we can talk about is actually what we had. So what's its history? So 19 races. Yeah. It managed to do the entire F1 season. Unlike, see what Ferrari used to do sometimes, and what a lot of teams used to do, is they used to start the season with their old car, and then bring in their new car maybe after a couple of races when they were finished.
But isn't it better to start with a new car and then test it beforehand?
They used to test way beforehand anyway, but they used to just sort of say, well, the old car's faster right now, so let's use that old car while
because it's primed.
Exactly, we're...
Makes sense, to be fair.
Yeah, but this one was the entire season because there was a whole lot of rule changes. So it was the first car with the V8, first Ferrari in a long time with V8s. 19 races, 7 pole positions, that's 4 for Michael Schumacher and 3 for Massa. There were 7 fastest laps, which was, I think, was it 5 for Schumacher, and 2 for Massa,
yeah.
and it was
9 wins.
9 wins, 7 for Schumacher and 2 for Massa. Now, this car almost won Schumacher his 8th World Championship had it not been for an engine failure earlier in the season. If his engine had not failed in Australia, then the car was fast enough to win that race, and he would have won the championship, albeit by about maybe 2 points from Alonso, but he would have won an 8th World Championship. Nevertheless, this car was a huge challenger to the Renault, to the Renault engines of Alonso, especially, like we said, in the latter part of the season. It was the fastest car on the grid by the end of the
the Renault engines then were pretty good, weren't they?
They were, and the Renault car was fantastic.
Not right now though, because I think Red Bull will.
Renault's pulled out.
Yeah, well, Red Bull.
Yeah, Renault have actually pulled out of supplying engines. Whether they're going to buy that Lotus team or not, that's still up in the air. All I know is they've retained Pastor Maldonado, which is the stupidest move ever. And I don't care what anyone else says, that is a stupid move.
And Red Bull will probably go to VW.
But
I think right now
Ferrari,
with their money problems.
Yeah, I think Red Bull are going to have to go with a Ferrari engine
interim
for
isn't
next
it?
year.
Yeah, interim
for the next couple of years.
And then VW, well, at the moment, who knows with VW with all the problems.
What, 30% down on shares?
Yeah.
This is the day we're recording, which is a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're recording this on a Wednesday, so we're 30% down on shares. But yeah, came second in the World Constructors' Championship. Now, that's all the specs and everything out of the way. Moving on to the mod. It's made by F1 SR. So it's not Formula Corsa, and it's currently in public beta too. So it's really worth mentioning that this is still a beta.
Yeah, it's not the final release, so we've got to sort of go easy.
Well, I'm still gonna go pretty harsh on it, but that being said, I did speak to the project leader Stuart Phillips, who goes by the name Ace Schumacher. So you can see who's kind of fan.
Schumacher, yeah.
And he says there's still a few things that they're working on, notably the driver suits. So we're going to ignore the driver suits, because I think that's only fair to ignore that. But the rest of the car, it looks like it's pretty much there. And it's been worked on by quite a few people. Sandrox, Mr. B, Mr. I, Mike, Quinton Plain, and Wilmer Chavez. So it's a small team, but they're a very dedicated team. Now the size of the car, when it's zipped and unzipped. Well, the download's nice.
Yeah.
74 meg, easy enough.
Yeah. And then unzipped is
900 meg. This car's almost a gig in size, which was shocking to me. But that's pretty much the car in the car mod information. Yeah. Now the more important part. What was it like to drive? Well, we'll break it down as we always do. We'll start with the model.
Yeah, we'll start with the model. It does look the part. It looks what it's supposed to look like. You know, with an F1 car, you've got to know it's got to be when you're sitting in the car, the stuff on the side, the front, everything just feels like an F1 car.
Yeah, and you know the thing is with an F1 car is because people analyze F1 so much, you'd know if something's wrong. I'd know if something was wrong with this car. From one look, I'd look at that and go, hang on, that front wing doesn't look right. Yeah. And the thing is, it didn't. It just all looks absolutely fine.
Looking at it right now, with the wheels, I think it looks what it's supposed to look like, and the height. I mean, very fussy here, but when you're watching an F1 car, in the races, it looks like it's supposed to be in a race.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to really compliment on is the amount of polys on that. You can see it's a very high polygon count on that car, because everything's very smooth. You can see there's no real jagged edges or anything. It's all very, very smooth, which is great. So 10 out of 10 on the model, I think. Sounds.
Right. You picked up on this.
Yeah.
I didn't until you mentioned it. Which was there's a crackle, isn't there?
Yeah. There's a crackle that's missing. If you watch YouTube videos of this car,
sorry, this missing crackle. Yeah. That's what I meant.
If you watch YouTube videos of this car, or if you used to watch Formula 1 in 2006, like we did, it's when you're off the throttle on this car in the low rev range and then coming back on the throttle, there was this crackle. Whether it sounded like exhaust backfire or not sure. Yeah, whatever it was crackle, and that is missing from this car. And that's the only thing that's missing from the sounds of this car. Otherwise, sounds beautiful, doesn't it? It really, really does. And I love we've got the replay box playing and you can hear it as well. It's just that noise. It's that noise that every kid makes when
you associate F1, I think.
Well, no, I think when you associate noise of a car going past,
yeah,
every kid makes that. The noise.
Yeah.
You ask any little kid to make that, they'll make that noise, and that's the noise right there. So that's absolutely great.
The physics.
I couldn't fault it.
Yeah, I think with that, I mean, this ties in with the model and everything, but I think again I think you've got to give it full marks there.
Yeah, it was just so smooth to drive. It was absolutely great. I loved the confidence it gave. It was an amazingly fast car as well, like so fast. You wouldn't believe how fast this car was. I mean, I don't do it in here, but I did manage to do a 1 minute 34.8. Yeah. So, do you think I should add that clip in the end of the video?
Yeah, give it a go.
I'll add that. I'll add that fast lap as well. But it was just, we've tried loads of F1 cars. This one was so fast and so stable. I had confidence from the very first lap. And then there's texturing, which I think is almost perfect. Then again, I can't give it perfect because Formula Corsa had those 4K textures.
Oh yeah.
And that was perfect.
Okay, is that what you? Okay.
Yeah. So
enough.
this I have to take just a little bit off. So I'd have to ever so slightly mark it down, just because it doesn't have the absolute phenomenal textures.
Yeah. But it's a beta. I mean, is it possible they could upgrade it to a 4K?
If they do, then
if
they do, then that's going up.
Yeah.
And the fun factor, well, it's not the most fun F1 car, but it's certainly more fun than most F1 cars that I've driven.
So which one would you say is better than this then?
I think the cars that were from the 1998 to 2004 era were the better ones.
I'm talking about the mod to drive.
I'd say the Virtua Simulazione McLaren.
Okay.
I'd say that one was better, and I'd say Ayrton Senna's car, the official one, is also better.
So not many then?
Not many. Okay. This is probably the third best car to drive on there, which is absolutely great. Which then brings us to really any criticisms. And I'd say it was probably a bit too smooth in first gear. That was really about it. And also, you know, when you actually go through the gears, I felt that maybe it needed a bit more of, you know, when you go through a gear fast, you have that jolt.
Jolt, yeah.
I couldn't really feel that jolt in the wheel, or, you know, I couldn't visually see it or anything. So maybe that's something to work on.
Is that when the sort of you feel the car taking off a bit?
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Exactly. And that lack of crackle or throttle. And I think this is my last lap now. So with this last lap, and I think this is going to be the fastest of this part of the video, but I'll add the 134 in there as well. But it's time for us to rate this car. So what do you think?
I mean, honestly, I've not driven this car, and I normally say I don't rate them, but because it's an F1 car, I'm gonna rate it.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen the car in real.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen it on the TV. You've seen these cars racing, and we've rated all the F1 cars. So
I'm gonna give it a high 9, simply because what you picked up on the 4K texture.
Yeah.
That's me being very, you know, what's the word?
Picky.
That's the one. Yeah. Me being very picky. The sound side of it and the jolt, I didn't drive it, and maybe I didn't see it. So I'll probably give it a 9.7.
9.7.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 9.5, so just a little bit more off, simply because obviously I felt that little bit. And what we're going to do now is, once we get to the end of this lap, I'll cut over to the fastest lap, and I'll let you guys enjoy that without any of our annoying voices. So thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to our channel for more videos on Assetto Corsa. Download links will be in the description box below. Try out this car because it's great, and we'll see you next time.